I started to think about was how stories are such an integrated part of our lives, no matter which way you cut it. If you think about even things like, like somebody who's maybe experiencing something like anxiety, that is you telling yourself a story about the future that hasn't necessarily come true yet. People who tend to sit in, like, let's say, depression, that's a rumination on a story in the past. But the common thread is always that there's a story involved, and we're always telling ourselves stories. So I started to think, well, what if we could take those stories and we could use those stories for good? Maybe the story that I'm telling myself is going to help somebody else change the story that they're telling themselves. And then from there, it kind of naturally led into me exploring this idea of how storytelling can actually have an impact in society. So that I've always had this kind of very nostalgic feeling around audio drama. And so I decided to focus my research on how audio drama can be a medium of social change. In my research, I came across the USAID or USAID, and they had done a lot of research into Burkina Faso, which had a lot of civil war. And through their research, they had discovered that the use of audio dramas to help society heal from the impact of that civil war was far more effective than direct intervention from authorities. And the reason it was effective is because people were listening to it on places like Bush Radio, on community radio, and that was starting conversations in the communities. And I think what makes it so impactful is that you're being exposed to that in your community, and that is starting a conversation within the community, and you're hearing these different perspectives on those stories, and those conversations then get started in the communities, and the communities start to talk to each other, and I think it helps people to not quite feel so isolated as well. This person on the other side of the country is experiencing something that I'm experiencing too. I'm not alone in this. So it sort of starts getting conversations started around these societal issues.
That's there's a lot to unpack even just there. That was like, oh.
And it was in that moment that I realized just how important storytelling can be. And I realized it for myself, via this 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid, how important a community space where people get to tell their stories, how important that space is, and how important it is that we hold space for people. Because the theater is going to change that kid's life. He passed out. He woke up, his eyes opened. He was like, I got to get back on stage, man. And we were like, dude, take a minute. You know what I mean? He's like, no, he needs to get back on stage. And that just kind of punctuated my understanding of that I'm in the right place where I need to be because of kids like this. I'm holding space for somebody like that. And to him, this is a very important moment in his life.